trying to get this passed for 10 years in Wisconsin. Something legislators realize about me is I don't go away. I will get this bill passed, and I will keep writing, calling, and showing up at state capitals to get Erin's law passed. There are states out there that pass it in a few weeks. And to me, it's a no-brainer. As you heard, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused by their 18th birthday. 90% of the time, it is someone a child knows and trusts. Yet what do we teach kids throughout this country in elementary school? I learned it every year. Stranger danger. Don't go look for the lost puppy. Don't take candy from the stranger. But 90% of the time, it is not strangers hurting children. Well, growing up in the suburbs of Chicago, I met my best friend in kindergarten. Her and I began having our first sleepover together. Well, it was at her house, the very first, not last time, I was sexually abused. She had an uncle that lived with her, and at that sleepover, he came into the room, abused me, told me to keep it a secret, so I didn't tell anybody. Not when my mom picked me up the next day. So when Ashley asked me to spend the night again, I avoided it. But during the day, he was always sleeping, since he worked a midnight shift. So I was always fine during the day, playing over there, but avoided the overnights. Fast forward a couple months, once again, she's asking me to sleep over. But I wasn't going to be the only child, there was another little girl. Well, I thought, if we all slept on the ground, this man couldn't do anything. But something to know about predators, if you do a little research, if they're doing it to one kid, they're doing it to others. And that's exactly what happened that night, and he sexually abused all 3 of us. And I'm now keeping the same secret as my best friend. Well, from 6, 7, 8, this man repeatedly, not just at overnights, during the day, at play dates, sexually abused and eventually raped me. I can tell you the color shirt he wore, the shoes I wore that day, and of course the threats. I will burn your house down if you tell anybody. So I stayed silent. All the red flags were there. I was a kid that put my hand through the window. I was given the IEP at school labeled, I still have the paperwork, a behavior and emotionally disturbed child. Had someone been teaching me safe and unsafe touch, safe and unsafe secrets, that you will be believed when this is happening to you, I'm confident I would have spoken up. But the only message I got was to keep it a secret. The schools poured thousands of dollars into the prevention of all my behavior problems, social workers, psychologists in the schools, aid helping me in the school because of my behavior problems. So why did my abuse end? It wasn't Officer Friendly who came in and taught us about strangers, teaching me that I'll be believed if this is happening to me. No, we moved. I was going now to a new school, making new friends, avoiding the sleepovers with those new friends because I feared the dads, older brothers. What I didn't realize, moving was getting me that much closer to the next perpetrator in my life. Fast forward, I'm now a 5th grader. My grandparents have a condo in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. I'm spending the night at their condo with a bunch of older cousins and my older sister. Grandma blows up the air mattress, puts a movie on for me, and I fell asleep, only to wake up to the older teenage cousin, who was like the brother I never had, coming from a family of all girls, sexually abusing me. Did I tell my parents when they picked me up the next day? No. Instead, I opened up my little pink childhood diary and wrote the words, "Something happened last night, but I don't know who to tell." And it would be in this diary for the next nearly 2 years, I would repeatedly write about this cousin sexually abusing me. Because as I mentioned, if they're getting away with it, they're going to keep doing it. So I documented what he was doing at the family gatherings, the holidays, and while I babysat his 2 younger brothers when I was 12, 13. And my cousin, just like the neighbor, told me, "Erin, this is our little secret. No one will believe you. You have no proof that I'm doing this to you." So I wrote another diary entry. Officer Friendly comes in and teaches us not to answer the door when my parents are gone. But they don't teach us about the family, about the people we know. And I read that statement years later as an adult, going, yes, they don't teach us this. I learned for 6 weeks in 6th grade while my cousin was abusing me The 8 ways to say no to drugs. I still got my dare card. 80% of the country teaches kids this. Where are the 8 ways teaching kids on how to get away until today? We don't teach it. We don't talk about it. Why did I speak up and tell finally when I was 13 years old? Well, as I mentioned, if these perpetrators are doing it to one person, they're doing it to another. And my 11-year-old sister came to me as we walked up the road at my parents' lake house in Lake Geneva and said, "Brian's gross." That was the teenage cousin who was abusing me, and come to find out, at the very same family gatherings, abusing her. So it gave me the courage to come forward, break my silence, find myself in a children's advocacy center, the place where I found my voice, the place I was supported. Went down the destructive path in high school of self-harm, a suicide attempt, you name it, very depressed, my grades were impacted. And eventually confronted that perpetrator cousin and turned that little diary into a book called Stolen Innocence, wanting to put a face and voice on this silent epidemic to give other survivors the courage to speak up and tell. But much more needed to be done. And I wanted to protect kids from being abused, giving them the voice that I never had as a child on how to speak up and tell if this is happening to you. So after getting my master's in social work, I quit my full-time job working with youth in a counseling agency, handed my boss my resignation letter and said, I'm going after passing legislation in Illinois that we require teaching kids once a year personal body safety, giving them the tools if they're being abused to speak up and tell so they're not abused for 6 years of their life like me. My state senator said, Erin, this is a great idea, but they will never talk about sexual abuse prevention in schools. And I told him, if you won't help me, I will find somebody that will, because I'm not going away. And I finally found someone, and after 3 years in Illinois, got Erin's law passed. But kids are not just being abused in Illinois, they're being abused around this world. So I made it my mission, and for the last 15 years have traveled from one state capital after another, as far away as Alaska and Hawaii, testifying to lawmakers to get this passed. It is now passed in 38 states. Sadly, for 10 years, I keep trying in Wisconsin. This is the very first time I'm getting a hearing, but I'm not going away. And I will close with this example of why I don't go away. New York killed my bill for 8 years. Something I do when they keep killing my bill is go to the national media. Get the story out there that we're not protecting kids. Why not give them a voice? The only ones that should be voting against my bill are the ones that want to abuse and silence children and get away with it. So what happened in New York after 8 years of the chair in education continuing to kill it? She finally stepped down. I found a passionate legislator to get it through and passed in New York. And as I told these lawmakers, one day I will bring you the proof of why I don't give up fighting to get this law passed. And in the very first year, 2020-2021, school year that Erin's Law was taught, in New York, in an upstate school near Rochester, a children's advocacy center prevention program came in and taught Erin's Law. All of a sudden, I'm getting all these notifications, news alerts, that 9 children in that one elementary school came forward saying they're being sexually abused. 9 kids, very first year Erin's Law was taught. When it went to trial, 26 boys took the stand testifying against the perpetrator. Who was the perpetrator? Not stranger danger, no, the principal. For 15 years, this man molested his students. The students that were being rewarded for good behavior and getting lunch with the principal, only to be behind closed doors molested by him. Thankfully, he was convicted, and he's sitting behind bars for the next 63 years. And I can guarantee you right now, there are monsters living in this state doing the same thing, silencing kids like this principal and so many others that are getting away with it. And that is why we need to give kids the voice in Wisconsin and the remaining other 11 states. If I can get Ontario, Canada to pass Erin's Law, a state in India to pass my law, well, why can't we get these remaining 12 states? One of the biggest hurdles I get is this is an unfunded mandate. Well, I've solved that problem. I created the Erin's Law Foundation, creating the free curriculum, so it no longer comes at a cost for schools to spend thousands of dollars. There's great curriculum out there, but it costs money. This is free curriculum. We just finished the elementary, rolling out in August, back to school. The curriculum will be available right on my website for parents to look at, schools to look at,
download it, get it right there so they can teach this law. You mentioned the private schools. Unfortunately, no state that I have come across can mandate this in private schools. It's why they're private. They have their own, they don't fall under the state Board of Education mandates. So while I wish we could get it passed in private schools, and if there's a way to do that in Wisconsin, make Wisconsin the first state to do that, that would be amazing. And something else I always like to clear up, but I don't think it's an issue in this room, is this is not sex ed. Often people say, you know, this is teaching kids about sex, abortion, transgender. That's not what this is. This is literally teaching kids how to speak up and tell if you're being abused. Because I want to give that kid that's going to bed tonight in the state of Wisconsin, being abused the same way I was, the voice on how to speak up and tell and put that monster behind bars and prevent him or her from abusing another child. So let's not wait anymore. Let's get this done and get this rolled out. I can guarantee every single one of you, within the first year of this being mandated in Wisconsin, I'll be sending you all an article, and this is why I don't go